Hi, my name's Lewis Watson and I somehow get away with calling myself a professional musician. However, now that me hobbies me jobby, I wanted to record a few mini-series and, with the help of some close friends, showcase some of the other passions that I've picked up during my life so far. Sit back, relax, and most importantly, enjoy.
Hello everybody, I am professional Minecrafter Lewis Watson and today we're in my kitchen. A few people know that I wanted to be a chef before being a musician and I blame Mrs. Brady for that not happening because we had work experience and I had it set up at this wonderful place called Bignell Park in Chesterton, which is one of the villages close to Bicester, which is where I grew up. And Mrs. Brady didn't like that idea, so she sent me to the cafeteria of Cooper School, which is like the opposing rival school, you know. It wasn't like a heated rivalry, there was no violence or anything. But we were BCC, and they would call us Bartlett's concentration camp after Cynthia Bartlett, our head teacher. She's still alive, do you know? Dead. Dead? I don't know. Just in case. And we would call them Cooper Troopers, which is the worst insult ever. Anyway, so I was in the rival cafeteria for my work experience and that put me off cooking forever. So if I have any Vietnam flashbacks today, that's why, thanks Mrs. Brady. Let's get started. So it's the weekend, right? And unfortunately, you can't have a full English anymore if you are a silly vegan like I am. We are plant-based in this house. I'll talk about it all the time, as we always do. So I kind of came up with this, I mean, I didn't invent it. Scrambled tofu's been around for a long time. But I came up with this thing called the one block breakfast, which is created with one block of tofu. This is just the Cauldron brand, but I've done it with the Tofu brand as well, the TOF001. That's all it takes. It feeds 2 comfortably, probably feed 3 if you're being a bit stingy on your servings. But first, we need to start with the crispy bacon bits, which go on top. So all I do is I get this tofu out. This has been pressed dry. It's still damp, but that's okay. And I take about 1/3 of it, maybe a bit less. And this is going to be our bacon. So this will go away for our scrambled tofu. And what I like to do is cut this into pretty small chunks because you want it to really crisp up. And the way that happens is, well, it happens a lot quicker, is if the pieces are a bit smaller. And also bacon bits, they're never really big, you know. So I'm just cutting this pretty small. It helps if they're uniform, but it doesn't matter really. It's not the end of the world. That's Dexter. It's my cat being a rapscallion. Tripping over my water bottle. Stay hydrated, guys. It's hot in here. Do you know what? First, let's introduce everybody. So I'll just cut that tofu, but we'll come back to that. So I'm here with 3 of my childhood mates who went to school together. Here's Phil. This is Uncle Phil from Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. He actually is dead, actually, so sorry. Rest in peace, Uncle Phil. Over here is Bruce. Come on. This is Bruce here. Kind of like a mix between Brendan Urie and the guy from Primitive Technology YouTube channel.
I've got Uncle Phil and he is Brendan Urie.
Yeah? Well, be better to look at, Phil. Over here is Charlie. He had a Bebo account with Tyrone Brown that was Ty and Chaz for rugby. That was your URL.
Really?
Yeah. He loved rugby. Do you love it anymore?
No.
No?
No.
We grow, don't we? We grow and we evolve. I never liked rugby. I sprained my neck in a scrum. Scrum? Scrum. Scrimmage. Cribbage. I sprained my neck playing cribbage. Right. So let's start with this marinade. Now a lot of like bacon bit or I guess bacon tofu recipes call you to marinate it for a long time. This one you don't have to at all because it's very intense, which is great, and it only cooks for 15 minutes as well. So this is rapeseed oil. I think it's high in omega-3. I could have made that up, but it's my go-to cooking oil. It's like really neutral tasting and it's great. And I do 2 tablespoons of that for this serving, because you've got to replicate that fat. Bacon's very fatty. And then I do equal parts soy sauce. It's just dark soy sauce, which is great. This is what gives it that saltiness, that you get that umami saltiness. There's a word. So 2 tablespoons, just equal parts. You can increase or decrease this if you're doing more or less tofu. And then it goes with the smoky ingredients. So I've got this liquid smoke, which is great. You can buy it on Amazon. I'll put a link down below. So I add like a few dashes of this. It's quite strong, but you want it to be smoky as well. And then I do a bit of garlic powder. This is completely optional. I put garlic powder in almost everything because it just fucking goes everywhere, as you see. So it just ends up in everything. And then I do a bit of miso paste as well. So this is great. It's just fermented soybean paste. This is like, I put this in everything. It really helps add bold flavor. I do a half tablespoon, I say that is. And I give that a little mix. I do it in a Tupperware container because it's so easy just to coat everything. You don't want any like flat tasting tofu basically. I stick this all in, give it a little shake. And that is basically like all the marinating that it needs. Is it marinating or marinading? I've always marinating. But you marinate something, right? And this is a marinade. Hey, am I right? So now I just pop this out onto a baking tray. This is just like a is it silpat? I think that's what it's called. I just do it like that. And then I stick that into like a 210 degree oven for 15 minutes and it's done. Keep checking on it though. If you want it to be crispier, make it go for longer, obviously. If you don't want it to be crispy, 50 minutes is about perfect. So yeah, we'll do that and we'll come back and do the scrambled tofu. Okay, so now that you've put the bacon bits into the oven, set your timer for 15 minutes. The light has gone off.
Yay!
Leave it rolling. Okay, so now that your bacon bits are in the oven, you set the timer for 15 minutes. Now it's time to get started on the scrambled tofu, the scrambled egg of the dish, I guess. And that starts with some spring onions and some garlic. Now, whenever I do any recipe with garlic, before I start anything, I squash it because I'm strong. And what that does is just, sorry Dexter, one more squash. I give it a big old squash. What it does is it starts releasing all the allicin, I think is what it's called, which is the good stuff in garlic. It's like the sticky stuff in garlic. So I always do that first. Also makes it easier to cut, but that's by the by. I've also got these thick spring onions. Look at these. Ooh. I've had like a real hard-on. I probably shouldn't use that word for spring onion and leek these last few months. They are like the best. Also, something that's very important for me whenever I'm cooking, I always have a tea towel attached so I can dry my hands or whatever, clean stuff I have to. It's very easy if it's on your person, as well as a little bin bowl. I call this a bin bowl, basically for all of the little offcuts, and then afterwards, just chuck it in the bin. Super easy. Just makes everything a fluid motion, basically. So I'm just gonna slice this spring onion fairly fine. Get the gubbins off there. I'm going to use most of this, probably apart from that last inch. The green stuff's good as well. The aromatic stuff mainly is in the bottom here, but the green stuff is flavoursome as well. So I'm going to cut this pretty rough. Oh, that coffee's going nuts. I don't mind big chunks of spring onion. Doesn't bother me too much. So I've used all but the very end there, just personal preference, but you can do whatever you want. Just gonna roughly chop it again. Oh, it smells good. That's such a TV chef thing to say. Cool, smells so good. I get that in the pan. here. Now this is actually my first time ever using an induction hob. I have to thank Rich, my wonderful producer, my rock, whilst we're making this third album. He needed a hob for the studio, so he bought one and let me borrow it, which is really nice. So if anything goes really wrong, it's because I've never used this before. And again, with the rapeseed oil, I'll just do a little glug of that, not too much. Put a little glug, and we'll start that going with the garlic. So the garlic, which I squashed, has been releasing the allicin for a little while now, and I just cut that nice and small. Again, I don't mind chunky bits of garlic, and I'm actually a big fan of garlic, so this might be a bit too much. This is a pretty big clove. The same with that spring onion. That's probably like 2 normal spring onions worth, but we hit the mother load with these thick sprigs. That goes in, and we'll start that going. We want like a medium-low heat for that, because we want it to get aromatic, and but we don't want it to burn. And garlic and spring onion, they burn quite quickly. Okay, now in with that, I like to do some mushrooms. These are great. These are from Sainsbury's, and they are the B12 enriched mushrooms, which is great because if vegans don't have B12, we keel over and die. So these are good, and they taste normal. They're just like chestnut, and they actually have the white mushroom alternative as well. Again, I cut these quite thick, just like personal preference. You can dice these, you can cut them finer if you want, but yeah, I'm a big fan of chunky mushrooms. And when cutting, have you got a close one here, Phil? When cutting, I like to bend my fingers and run the knife close to here, so I'm never ever going to cut my fingers because they're like this, okay? And you just move it. Very easy, very simple. Okay, get those rolling around, and then we start with the pepper. Now, I'm actually spoiling myself now. Big Soph doesn't really like pepper, so this is a treat for me. I love pepper, so I like to cut around the pith. I think that's what it is. It's not me saying piss with a lisp. That's me saying pith. Do you know, I used to have a speech impediment, really bad one. I couldn't say church, I would say church, seriously, for like 2 years. I went to therapy. I was super young, I was probably 8. I went to therapy, like speech therapy, and cleared up super quick. So there's like a rash. So there's that story, little nugget of info for you there. Again, I like to dice these. You know, you could go smaller. Do you know, I actually am gonna go smaller. Just because peppers are very sweet, but it's great if they're small because you don't get like an overload of sweetness, you know. I'm going to start turning this up now, just because the mushrooms and the pepper will introduce quite a lot of liquid, and you want to kind of burn that off, I guess. Sip of coffee here. Hey, them's fighting words. Right, now I'm going to let those cook down a little bit, maybe 2 or 3 minutes, just to get some colour, which means flavour, caramelization, and also to get the raw taste out of the ingredients. Now at this point, I'm gonna season this. I was taught very early on that you should season at every stage when you're cooking, otherwise you end up with bland food. Now, I realise I'm saying that whilst not, you know, having seasoned the things for about 4 stages. So just pretend that I seasoned everything. This is just like coarse sea salt and pepper mixed together, like a 1-to-1 ratio. Just saves you some time, you know? Add that in. Get that stirred, period. Get that in. Oh, there are like 4 juicy hairs on that one. I'll take that one out. Okay, so now that's cooking down, time to add our tofu. Now this is like the egg replacement, I guess. I went for a very long time absolutely despising tofu, and I think basically I was cooking it incorrectly. It can be a fairly bland ingredient, but it's very easy to season and to make very flavoursome, and you'll see that if you try this. So I have this tofu here, and instead of chopping it, I'm just gonna basically crumble it to get that eggy texture, you know? So all I'm doing is like breaking it up with my hands into the pan, into das Pan. It's German, I think, probably. Right, so this ingredient here is called kalanamak. It also is known as black salt, I believe. And it basically adds that sulfury flavor and smell to, well, kind of eggy smell, I guess, and flavor to this ingredient, to this recipe. And it's pretty amazing. I've had this with and without this, and the difference is nuts. You'll smell it in a second. The guy's here in the kitchen. It will smell like I've dropped a deuce. I haven't. I just added black salt to it. Woo, there it is. This is completely optional. I know a lot of people that don't enjoy having this in. I just think that it really does. Bruce has just got the whiff. I think it really makes a difference, and it really makes it more convincing as like an egg dish, you know? Yeah, the fans probably doing it this way. As well as that kalanamak, we're adding some ground turmeric. This is like, basically get no flavor from this. It's purely for color, basically. Do like 1/4 teaspoon of this. Oh, that fan. 1/4 teaspoon of that. I also like to add a touch of paprika to this. Probably 1/8 teaspoon of that. And then we go heavy on the nooch. This is nutritional yeast, so I add quite a lot of this. If you're vegan, you know that you probably add this in everything that you eat. It's great, it adds a real like savory, nutty flavor, I guess. People say it's cheesy, like cheesy flavor. I don't really get that personally, but it's a must-have flavor for me, definitely. Right. Stirring this in, and you'll see that color changes instantly because of that turmeric. And it makes it that kind of eggy yellow. Along with that black salt, you really get the visual trickery of it being eggs, as well as the nose as well. Tricky nose. That's your nickname, isn't it, Phil?
That was, yeah, for a bit.
Growing up. Right, so you'll see it actually looks quite eggy there. And I'm gonna let that cook a little bit and then add some spinach. This may seem like a lot of spinach, but it wilts down to nothing. But yeah, I'm gonna wait to add that when this is cooked down a little bit. And now that this is cooking down, I'm gonna get started on the toast. So I just have like a bloomer, little giraffe bread, tiger bread, whatever it is. I'm gonna slice a thick bit from that. I'm gonna toast it, and I'm gonna make a smashed avo to go on top. So let me stick that in the toaster, and I'll come back and teach you how to make the best guacamole this side of the Mississippi. Right, so toast is done. Looking good, looking good. I like to do like a touch of garlic on the toast, especially with these bloomers when it's very coarse. I like to just basically give like it a little scrape with like 1/3 of a little clove of garlic, because it adds so much flavor and it's so easy to do. So all I'm doing is grabbing it here, and I'm just like basically grating the garlic on top. You don't want much. This imparts like a lot of flavor. So I did like, I don't know, the tiniest bit there. But that's the toast basically ready now. Just give this another mix. Okay, now the avocado. I've had rotten luck with avocados recently. I had like 4 months where I basically never got a dud avocado. And then these last, seriously, like 17 years. I've basically had like rubbish avocados. This is spot on. Wow, I'm so happy with this. So this goes into, this is why the bin bowl is so good. My bin is like 4.5 meters over there. It's just here, you know, my bin is now here temporarily. Yeah, so this avocado is great. I'm thrilled with that. So what I do is I basically cut it into like little dices, I guess. Samala dice. Little football joke for you there, football reference. We're all having fun. And I just like get that in a bowl. Again, bin bowl comes through. Get off me. Same again with this half. God, that just looks horrible, doesn't it? Now here, it's very easy. Guacamole is such an easy thing to do, homemade, but it's so good, so rewarding. So I do a tiny bit of oil. There's a lot of oil in the avocado anyway, so that's fine. I like to do, I know this says smoked garlic granules. It's not. I basically yeeted the chili powder out of the cupboard and it smashed and broke. So I managed to save it, but the only other container was smoked garlic granules. So this isn't smoked garlic granules, it's chili powder. I do a little dash of that. It's always good. I tend to do some paprika, but we put some paprika in the scrambled tofu, so pretty happy with that. I'm actually going to turn this off now. I think that's done. I'm happy with that. And whilst I turn that off, just quickly, I'm now going to put all this spinach in here. And you'll see it's all wilt down to nothing, but it's still got the residual heat from the pan and the tofu, and this will basically steam the spinach and it will go down, and I'll give it a little turn, you'll see. Give this a mash. Add this salt and pepper mixture. Mash it in. And that's done. That is the guacamole done. I like to give it a little taste just to make sure I haven't ruined the meal. Remember we got that garlic on the bread. I smear this on it. You will like avocado, right? Cool, so I'll towel that on the bread. Come on now. Embarrassing me in front of all my friends. In front of all my friend. Thanks, Phil. Right, now we go with the scrambled tofu on top of that. Oh boy, eh? Now I just like to basically shove this all on top of it. You'll see, I'll make it look pretty in a second. But I'm all for like a rustic presentation. Basically, if you see the bread, if you can see the bread, you haven't put enough on, in my opinion. Oh, look at that. Look at that. Eat that bit. Now that we get the bacon bits, doing bits, you'll see it's all crisping up. This could have gone longer, honestly. It would have been a bit crispier, but it smells like bacon, and it's just gonna be so good on top of this. So you just get little like bacon nuggets, you know, every other bite. It also helps if you just throw it like all over the place, I find anyway. Oh boy. Let me put you there, you there. Final little dash of salt and pepper, and we're done. That is my weekend one block breakfast. Super easy. I cooked that in like 15, 17 minutes, and it's just so tasty. You'll see in a second. I'll go grab a knife and fork and have a bite. And look, I'm not gonna lie to you and say it tastes just like scrambled egg with bacon. If you want that, have that. You know, it's your choice to make. I made the choice not to consume meat and dairy, and so I kind of make do with what I can have. And actually, this is delicious. And like I say, we have this almost every weekend we can, because it's just so good. It fills you up for the day. And look at it, it's lovely. So I actually like to have like a dash of brown sauce on this as well. So you could do that, and I will do that afterwards. Let's just have a little taste, eh? So you got that thick bread, and it's crispy as well. It's that crusty, crusty bread, eh? Bit of everything. This you can see. You got the bread, you got that garlic on top of the bread, avocado, you got pepper, spinach, 42 bags of spinach right there, with the tofu and a mushroom. I got far too much. Bit of bacon as well. Oh, it's so good. And seriously, you can't eat this and tell me that tofu is bland. You know, it's all about how you flavour it and how you cook it. And this is great, and this is why I have it every weekend. But yeah, we're gonna cut here and eat this and enjoy it. Thank you so much for watching the first episode of me cooking. This is One Block Breakfast. There are gonna be 2 other episodes as well. If you like this, please don't be afraid to like, comment, subscribe, all of that good stuff. It lets me know that you're a fan of the series. So, thanks again for watching, and I'll see you next time.